like I promised in the last video, we're going to go into depth on the particular cards. Today's card is the Line Amplifier Transformerless version. And basically we're going to go into depth on how this card works, the functions of it, various stuff on the card, and how you use it basically. So without further ado, let's look at the Line Amplifier Card.
Okay, so this is the Line Amplifier split. This goes on top of here. This is actually the output section of the Line Amplifier, which will form a balanced thing. And this is the input and the data stuff into the Line Amplifier. Now remember, the Line Amplifier will get its signal from the XLR panel in the back. And the XLR panel in the back already has a filter, what's called an interference filter, to prevent radio frequencies from getting in. That's the capacitors and ferrite beads that are on that XLR panel. So once the signal comes into this card, it will encounter these caps here. This is a part of the low-pass filter. This is the IC. This is the actual input IC here. And over in here is the next stage of it, part of it. After it comes in here, part of this is there's actually a common mode rejection circuit. And the common mode rejection has two things to it. It actually has a high frequency, which is this trimmer right here. And there's a low frequency aspect to the common mode rejection. Now also there's one more thing here. There's a jumper over here, which will allow you to change the impedance of the common mode rejection to a lower impedance if you needed it, depending on your mixing console, whatever that plugs into here. So this is the input IC. This is how it goes in there. Common mode stuff is sitting over in here. Okay. Now there's one other thing. Part of this is IC1 here. This here is a flip-flop controlled by microprocessor and stuff feeding in here. And this, via these three transistors here, if there's a diode and resistor network going into each transistor right here. But these three transistors will switch these resistors here as part of the feedback loop of this IC. So this is what's going on, is this will set the gain to 0, +4, or +8 on these three transistors via these resistors here. And all that's coming in data lines here to this IC, telling it to do that. Now the dip switches here allow it to match this amplifier to the recorder with or without the meter panel, okay, is one, with or without the mono stereo switch, monitor connected before the muting circuit or to the line output. They give you these different options here on these dip switches, and that's what they're setting, all these various options to do with that. Now this flip-flop IC also sends lines over through these op amps into these FETs here. And these are what actually switches it from input to repro, sync, like that. This is all done with these switching FETs right here, is what's doing that. Okay? And the other thing on here, there is actually a trim pot. See, it comes off of these little wires here. I have to flip this, you can see it. And that's your input trim. And then there's an output trim, which is this trim pot over here. It allows you to trim this thing line in, line out to get the gain set correctly when you're calibrating the unit. Now the signal on this card, after it's gone through that input, or after you've switched it over to the repro head, or the signal, or you're going to the record head, But as the signal's coming back here, it then goes to this card here. And this is like the balanced output driver, this card. You can see that a bunch of output transistors connected here. I believe this is like just a push-pull output combination. It's also senses over here. There's a thermistor, so it watches the temperature of this thing and compensates for it. But this is the actual output driver card. I mean, it's going to drive out of the unit itself and provide plenty of output, as you can see. It's not just a little IC here. We've got an actual big output stage going on here. And there's another cool trick here is this IC here with these capacitors and resistors around it. This is part of a delay circuit. So when we switch it into that output section, or when we turn it on, we won't get a pop out the main thing because it actually delays the signal before reaching this amplifier section here. So this little IC is doing that. There's actually a mute too when you want to mute, I believe it's the input section like that. Now remember this output section here, okay, which feeds out to the actual XLR. It will actually go back through here, back to this connector and out to the XLR section. And the XLR, again, has one of those interference filters, so you're not getting any RF interference into the output amplifiers itself. We don't want any noise and stuff coming into here, getting anywhere in this circuit itself. And that's a pretty good quick description of this without getting too complicated of how everything does, but it sort of gives you an idea what goes on the line input amplifier. One more thing I missed here, again from here, remember this flip-flop is controlling your gain right here of your input between 0, 4, and 8. It also goes over to here, and see these 3 transistors over here with these resistors. It's changing our output, whether, you know, it's actually what's feeding to here, but it's changing your output between 0, +4, and +8. So you can actually configure input and output from that. It's all done through the software controlling these transistors here and here. And that's how you control whether you got the machine set up for +4 input, +4 output.
Okay, so you thought you were going to get away with me not cleaning the card. But I just got to show you how dirty these cards actually are. So this is actually the first card to come out, the one we're talking about, the line input. Anyway, I'm going to fast forward real fast through this because I didn't want to bore you with any of this, but I wanted to show you that I am cleaning the cards even though I've gone into the depth in explaining it. Okay, here we go. Well, that was the line amplifier card. Hopefully you've all learned something from that. It's interesting to see all those extra trimmers that you don't normally can't access from the front of the card cage, but they're there for other stuff. Now, I wouldn't advise doing anything with them unless you really are experienced tech or know what you're doing. But they are there, so be aware of that stuff. In any case, hopefully you enjoyed the entire video. If you'd like to follow along, please hit subscribe to the channel. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and click the bell, and I'll notify you when the next one is up. Until that time, take care, and we'll see you